June 6, 1944. Omaha Beach, dawn. Thousands of American soldiers waded into the surf under machine gun fire, artillery, and mortars. The beach was lined with massive German bunkers, steel-reinforced concrete, some with walls more than 6 feet thick. Each bunker held MG-42 machine guns, firing 1,200 rounds a minute, slicing men apart before they could even reach cover. For the first hours of D-Day, the bunkers seemed invincible. Wave after wave of Americans fell in the sand. Casualties mounted so fast that some commanders considered pulling units off the beach. And yet, by the end of the day, those bunkers were silent. The question is, how did American soldiers crack the strongest fortifications Hitler ever built? The German Atlantic Wall stretched over 2,000 miles, but Omaha's defenses were the densest. Nestled into cliffs, camouflaged, and interconnected by tunnels, the bunkers were designed to cover every inch of beach, with overlapping fire. Direct assault was suicide. The MG-42's firepower was so overwhelming that entire squads were cut down in seconds. One veteran recalled, "We couldn't even lift our heads. Men died before they touched dry sand." So how did the Americans break through? The answer was a mix of improvisation, brute courage, and firepower. First came the engineers. Many bunkers were surrounded by barbed wire, mines, and steel obstacles. Combat engineers crawled forward under fire, cutting wire, blowing gaps with Bangalore torpedoes, and marking paths for infantry. Casualties among engineers were enormous. Entire teams wiped out. But without them, no one else could move. Second came the tanks. The plan had called for amphibious DD tanks to swim ashore and blast bunkers with 75mm guns. But rough seas sank most before they reached land. Only a handful made it to the beach. Those that did became critical. Survivors describe Shermans driving directly up to embrasures and firing point-blank into gun ports, silencing MG-42 nests. One crew fired so close that the barrel of their cannon was scorched by the bunker's muzzle flash. Third came the infantry. When artillery and naval bombardment failed to crack the bunkers, small groups of soldiers crawled forward through craters and dunes. They used grenades, flamethrowers, and satchel charges to attack from the sides and rear. Many accounts describe individual soldiers running through fire to shove explosives into bunker doors. Some never came back. Others succeeded and blew entire machine gun crews to pieces. One veteran said, "It wasn't Hollywood. It was one man at a time, crawling forward until someone got lucky." The key was finding blind spots. Bunkers could fire forward, but often had weak points in back. Once Americans got around the flanks, the defenders were doomed. Rangers scaling the cliffs at Pointe du Hoc showed how climb, flank, and hit the bunkers where they couldn't shoot. Naval firepower also played a role. Destroyers like USS Satterlee and USS McCook risked grounding themselves by sailing within 800 yards of the beach. At that range, their 5-inch guns blasted bunker after bunker with direct fire. Sailors recalled aiming at visible gun flashes, pounding them until silence followed. Here's the brutal arithmetic. On Omaha alone, the U.S. suffered over 2,000 casualties in one day. Most fell in the first hours, pinned down by bunkers. But once the first few were cracked, momentum shifted. By afternoon, the Americans had blown through the defenses, stormed the bluffs, and turned the bunkers' own guns inland. German accounts confirm the shock. Survivors reported being blinded by smoke, deafened by explosions, and stunned when American infantry suddenly appeared behind their positions. One officer wrote, "Our concrete walls held against shells, but not against men who refused to stop coming." The irony is brutal. The Atlantic Wall cost billions of Reichsmarks and used millions of tons of concrete. It was supposed to make Europe impregnable, yet it was broken in less than a day by engineers with torpedoes, soldiers with grenades, tanks firing at point-blank range, and destroyers scraping their hulls in the surf. Hollywood loves to show D-Day as waves of soldiers charging heroically. The truth is dirtier and far more desperate. Bunkers weren't destroyed by neat charges or easy heroics. They were cracked slowly, painfully, one at a time, often at the cost of dozens of lives for a single position. By nightfall on June 6th, Omaha Beach was in American hands. The bunkers were silent, but the cost was horrific. Thousands dead, the sand stained red, the sea filled with bodies. The Americans had cracked the concrete wall not with technology alone, but with sacrifice. The truth is simple. The strongest fortifications Hitler built could not stop men willing to crawl through fire, one grenade at a time. That's how Omaha was won. And that's how the Atlantic Wall, Hitler's pride, became rubble in a single day.